Yo, Eric.
Hi, Ivo.
Good morning.
Good morning. Nice, you got my skate from the marathon.
Yeah, and you're wearing it right now?
For sure.
You customized it a lot. Why don't you show the people what you did with it? Because I'm shooting a new vlog about the RB Cruiser. So if you want to learn more about it, check out the video. That was my friend Eric just now. He wears the Rollerblade Cruiser, and this is a review about the Rollerblade Cruiser. The Rollerblade Cruiser is, of course, from the brand Rollerblade. Rollerblade is one of the oldest brands in the sport. They started in the early 80s, made one of the first hard boot skates, and then in the late 80s they made the skate with the buckle. They also stepped into the aggressive skating business a little bit, and now they're also focusing a little bit more on marathon skating, recreational skating, and also still, of course, aggressive skating. Some people wrongly think that the sport is called rollerblading, but this is, of course, just a brand name. The sport is called inline skating. It's called inline skating because the wheels are in a line. So inline skating is the name, not rollerblading. In this video, I'm going to run through the different models that there are of the Rollerblade Cruiser. I'm going to tell you what sets them apart. I'm going to run through all the aspects of the skate, so each and every part of them. And I'm going to tell you how they fit and also what you can do to upgrade them. So enjoy. I will throw in some terms in this video, and if you don't know all the words that I'm saying, check out our other videos, because probably about all these terms I have a specific video already explaining what these words mean. We are here right now, of course, in This Is Soul skate shop in Amsterdam. And one of the things that I'm gonna do is tell you about the fit of these skates. But if you wanna know how they fit, it's the best thing to do to come by our store and just try them on your feet, because only then you will know if they feel good or not. All right. In general, this is a fairly broad fitting skate. So for people with wide feet, this one is really, really good. If you have narrow feet, I do not recommend this model because it will be too wide and your foot will have too much room in the skate. So let me run through the different models that are on the market. So right now you see here 4 of the current Rollerblade models. There's one Tempest model and there's one older one which we customized. The funny thing is that Tempest is another inline skating brand. They used kind of like the same skate than the RB Cruiser has, and that means that this is an open mold. An open mold is something that's owned by the factory. So the thing that the plastic gets casted into is something that if you just have enough money, you can pay the factory to make your own skate at. And so Rollerblade does not own the patents of the specific shape of the outer shell, but it did produce all the specific hardware. So Rollerblade decided what lasers are there, what buckles, what the quality of the liner is and the frame. So everything extra is decided by Rollerblade. And Tempest kind of like made their own interpretation of the RB Cruiser. It's a cheaper version, although the Rollerblade Cruiser is also really cheap. So price point is comparable, but a little bit cheaper. But also definitely all the parts are a little bit lower quality. So if you have the option to choose the RB Cruiser from Rollerblade, is the better version. And these quality differences are best seen in the liner. So the liner is a little bit, it will break down quicker. The wheels are, they will also wear down really quickly and they're really slow compared to the RB Cruiser wheels. They're also not the best wheels, but these are even worse. But one of the biggest things that is different is what's underneath the boot. And I'll show you that when we're talking about frames, because the way the frame is mounted to the boot is different with the Tempest one and the Rollerblade one. I'll show you that later. So let's run through the different Rollerblade models on the market. You can see that they all have a plastic buckle, for example. They all have an ankle buckle here. And they all have a funky liner with some funky graphics on the inside. They all have a riveted cuff. And so there's a few factors that are constant between all the RB Cruiser models. And probably, like this video is made in 2023. If you watch it in 5 years, probably these things will still be the same. They did upgrade the liner a little bit with some lace holes. So this model, for example, is a little bit newer and it has some lace holes here, and this one does not. For this one also that has lace holes. So there's a little bit upgrade there. And also there's something weird with the different editions is that this one came with, I can see here, I can take them apart real easy. I already prepared this. This one comes with an extruded frame. So this is a solid, thick metal that is really stiff, really high quality frame. But there's also a version of this skate that came with a cheaper, there's also a version of this frame, there's also a version of this skate that comes with a different frame with a cheaper production method. It's when you just have a plate of sheet of metal and it's compressed into a certain shape and then it's folded in this U shape of a frame, and it's a lot weaker than this one. So there's something really weird going on because there's actually two editions and I don't know why one or why the other. Like some of the skates that we got in were with one frame and some were with another. There also was one pro skate of this model. That was the Danny Aldridge pro skate. The hydrogen wheels are the best quality rollerblade wheels on the market, and they're also one of the best wheels in general. So if you want to buy good wheels, then we can always recommend those. The Danny one is the only skate that ever came with the hydrogen wheels of the ROLLERBLADE Cruiser line. So these are all the differences between the different models. Let me tell you a little bit more about the fit, and then I'm going to run through all the different parts of the skate. I already told you that the fit was a little bit wide. One thing that I didn't tell you was how the sizing works. It does fit a little bit big, and the sizing is also dual size. Let me explain you what that means. I already told you about how these molds work, and the molds are actually pretty expensive to make. So through the whole line, there are, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 molds for this skate. And some of these molds come with 2 different liners because it's easier to make a liner in a smaller size and put it in a bigger mold than it is to make different molds. Okay, but if you do that, you put a smaller liner in one of the bigger molds, then that extra room that's there, it will be filled up later. So the liner will get wet, it will get warm, and it will move. So it will fill up the space that's there eventually. So even if you put a 42 liner in a 43 skate, after like a couple of months of skating, it will become a 43 anyway. So there's no reason to ever get a 42 in a 43 mold, all right? So that's a little bit of a weird thing that's going on right now with this skate. I think that in the future, if you watch this video later, then this skate will come advertised as dual sizing. But right now, if you look at the Rollerblade website, it comes as a 42 and a 43. On our website, actually, these sizes are bundled. So we only buy the 43 and we list it on our website as 42, 43. Also, because then it's a lot more clear for you what is meant with these sizes. Because, for example, let's say you're a size 41 and this skate comes in a 40 and a half size. And then you think like, okay, the 40 and a half size might be too small, so I'm going to go for the 42. But you don't realize that the 42 is actually 43. But on our website, the 42 and 43 are bundled. So then you know that that's going to be way too much. In this specific example, I would go, by the way, for the 40 and a half because the skate falls big anyway a little bit. But so advertising the dual sizing is a lot more honest. So that's what we're doing. If you want to learn more about this, we have an entire video about dual sizing and how that works. The weird thing is that almost all sizes for this skate are dual size, so they have like 2 liners in one mold, except for the 40 and a half. It comes as a single size, so there's no extra line. So it's not like that there's also like a 39 and a half that fits into the same mold. So that's a little bit weird. I'll include a picture of the how these sizes work in the product pages of the skates so that you can click on it and see more information there on our website, thisissold.com. Also, if you want to order these skates online, of course, that's the place to go. Next topic that we're going to discuss is the flex of the skate. So there's a couple of aspects of flex. So there's forward flex, and that comes from the cuff. So there's usually a cuff bolt here, and then you can push this upside of the skate, you can push it forward, and that's the forward flex. I would say that the forward flex is pretty good of the cuff, so it's not too stiff and it's not too flexible. But there's one weird thing, is that this liner, it kind of like pops out a little bit like this. If you have one of the models that doesn't have the lace holes, that's why they added the lace holes. So if you tighten the top, then the forward flex is a lot more natural because the tongue kind of like stays in better. The sideways flex of this skate is really good. It's just a solid hard boot. If you have a solid hardwood skate, then usually they are pretty good. It's not as good as, for example, the Rollerblade Twister or an FR skate or any other skate that doesn't have all these big holes on the side. These big holes, they are ventilation, of course. They make the skate a little bit less stiff, and that's not what you want. You want to have a skate that's as stiff as possible to the side. One other downside of these holes in skates is if they're at the bottom and it rains, your feet will get wet, and you don't want that. Skating through the rain is fine. It's bad for your bearings, of course, but you can always buy new bearings. And the life hack to make your skate rainproof is to glue there's just a little like plastic sole on the bottom, to glue that on the inside of the skate so that it's stuck there so that the water doesn't come in. Pro tip. The RB Cruiser is kind of like it fits into a standard freestyle skate category. So there's a bunch of skates that are very similar. Think of like a Powerslide Imperial or an FR skate or Micro MT Plus skate. These are all kind of like the same type of skates. And what I mean with that is that they have the heel higher than the front, and they have 165 millimeter mount, and they have a little shock absorber in it. So it's a really small shock absorber. Gebeurde er shit? Donnie. Later, man. There's also skates that are flat at the bottom, of course, like UFS skates for aggressive skating, but that's not this. This is a raised heel skate, and the advantage of that is that the frame goes up a little bit more than the back. So this is also stiffer. If you would have made this part flat and you would have made the raise of the heel from plastic or even like a softer rubbery material, then this takes also away some of the control. So the reason why these frames are going up higher is so that if you push off, you have the stiffness of the metal instead of the flexiness of plastic or rubber or something like that. Let's talk about the liner. These liners are great. They're comfortable and they fit big, of course, like I already told you. They're not as good as the Rollerblade Twister or Maxim, or definitely not as good as an Intuition liner, of course, or one of the other like more expensive liners. But if you consider the price of this skate, then it comes with a really decent liner. The Rollerblade Cruiser liner is for sure better than the Tempest liner. One cool thing about it is all these funky graphics. I don't know if it actually helps the sales. Like if I look here in the shop, and we sell this skate a lot, I think most people kind of like take it for granted that these graphics are there more than that they seek it out. But it's a funny, remarkable feature, at least. A downside is that the tongue curls a little bit with some of the sizes, not all sizes, and also not like all foot shape cause this to happen. But for some people, I see that it goes a little bit like this. And be careful that you do not pull on the handle. This is a handle to carry the skate, but it's not a handle to pull on it to put it on. Next topic is the cuff. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the cuff. But there's also nothing great about it. It's just a normal cuff. It's riveted on, and that means that it cannot come loose, and that's also an advantage. Like also, some of the things that go wrong the most is that these cuff bolts, they unscrew themselves, and then we get people here in the store that just need like one cuff bolt because they lost it, and that will never happen with a riveted cuff like this. Downside is you cannot replace it and put on a different color, but that's also not really necessary, right, to put on a different color. So it's fine if it's riveted. The sizing of the cuff I actually am not sure about. I don't know what skate model comes with what cuff size. Because it's riveted on, so I never experimented a little bit with it. Funny thing is though that the Tempest skate does come with removable cuffs. So I can let you know how the cuff sizing works by removing this. I'll do that later and let you know on the socials. So check out our Instagram @thisisall, of course, to learn more. Right, next topic is the buckle. These rollerblade buckles are great. They're plastic, which is fine. Metal buckles are always better. So if you want to replace them, you can. They are riveted on, just like the cuff though. You can unmount that with the drill. I have a video about this on our YouTube as well, so check out how to remove riveted cuff bolts is the name of the video, I think, on our YouTube, and you can learn how to replace those. The distance between the holes is a standard, and we christened that standard the standard buckle mount, so SBM. And there's two standards. One is called SBM2 and one is SBM3 because of the holes that it has. So this one has 3 holes, 1, 2, 3. And then you also have the ankle buckle here, and that one has 2 holes. So this has a hole here, a mounting hole, and a hole there. So that's an SBM2 buckle. The SBM2 buckle, the ankle buckle, has 2 versions. So this one is the crank buckle, which also comes on the twister. It's exactly the same ankle buckle, but some of the versions come with this one. And this one is actually really nice because one of the downsides of these crank buckles is that there comes always a certain point that there's so much tension on it that you kind of like ruin the little tooths that are here. Because yeah, there's just so much tension on it. Then you try one more, and it's clack, and you kind of like just break it a little bit. And now when you release it, there's this button here. It's really hard to release this. You need to push really hard, clack, to open it. It's a little bit of a system that needs a manual, and it needs some. You need to learn to deal with it a little bit. But this one here, you open it, so you release the tension, and then you can release this here, or you can push it more in without there being the tension. So it's actually a superior system in that it doesn't break that much either. Next topic is the frame and the frame mounting. The cool thing about this skate is that it has a metal plate. And the metal plate sets apart the cheaper boots from the more expensive boots. This is a cheap skate if you compare it to Rollerblade Twister, which is the more high-end freestyle skate from Rollerblade. So for a cheap skate, it's really cool that it has this metal plate, all right? Because this metal plate makes that the frame is mounted really hard on the boot, in that it doesn't move like this, okay? If you have a plastic plate here, so there's no plate actually, so if it's just the plastic, and you mount the frame on it, you can still move the frame a little bit. And especially with bigger wheels, that's a really bad idea. The distance between these two bolts are 165 millimeter. That means that all frames on our website that are listed as 165 millimeter will fit. One funny thing is that there's these extra holes, and I don't really understand why they're there, because there's no thread in there. So cool thing is that you can make thread in there. The thread in this hole here is M8, which is a thread standard. And all standard skates that we have, almost all except for some of the FR skates, they all come in M6 standard. So I think like 95% or probably more of all the skates have M6. And this one is really special in that it has M8. We, of course, have all these bolts, so if you ever need a replacement bolt, go to thisisall.com and check it out there. The distance between these two holes is 15 millimeters, and there's also a mounting standard which is 180 millimeter. There's only a couple frames on the market that have this, so it's not really a big mounting standard, but some of the endless frames work like that. So if you want to put on one of these endless frames, you can make some thread in this section here and then mount these frames. It's also possible to make thread here and then also there, and then you can put on all 195mm frames, which is a speed skating standard. There's also a lot of ice skating frames that also have these standards, so you can put on ice skate frames as well and go ice skating on them. I already told you a little bit about these frames, which is a little bit weird because some versions of the skate come with a cheaper version and some come with the better version of extrusion. So if you get the extruded frame, then you're lucky. These models only come with the extruded frame, so that's good. And extruded is it's just one of the, like all high-end frames are made with extrusion. So if you want to learn more about what extrusion means, of course, check out my video about that topic. Cool thing about this frame is that it goes a little bit wider at the top. And I already said before that you don't want to have movement in this way. Huh? Like if you push off, you want it to be as stiff as possible. And because this frame goes a little bit wider at the top, you can see it here, so it means also that it's mounted better than that it doesn't move as much as that if it would have been slimmer. The axles of the frame are a race axle type, and it's also called a single axle, meaning that it's a single piece and it threads directly into the other side of the frame. So there's no Allen key needed on this side. It opens only from this side. If you ever ruin it though, if you strip the bolt, then we also have a few tips to get it out. If you want to do it yourself, check out our YouTube video about this, and otherwise you can always come by our store here in Amsterdam and we'll help you out with it. The skate comes with just a standard quality wheel, which is fine if you're just getting into the sport. I wouldn't worry too much about it, but if you wear them down, just replace them for a Rollerblade Hydrogen one. The bearings also are just standard bearings. I wouldn't worry too much about it. They're just metal bearings, double shielded. It's fine. The skates that are here on my table are all the left-sided skates, because that's what we hang in our store. On the right side skate there is usually a brake, and maybe it's mounted, maybe it's not mounted, but it's definitely in the box for all these skates. The question is though, should you use the brake or not? And the answer is, if you can do the T-brake, so that's dragging your foot behind you, then I could say that it's fine to take off the brake, because the brakes are also a little bit in the way if you do crossovers and stuff like that. But if you are not comfortable yet with all the other braking techniques, then the heel brake is a very good and solid method to stand still pretty quickly. We have an entire video again about the heel brake and more details. If you want to learn about braking techniques, then it's also on our YouTube channel, because we have like a whole lesson series there as well. We also do lessons here at the shop, so if you're ever in Amsterdam and need a teacher, we're here for you. Next topic is the slider. This is meant as a protection part of the skate. It's bolted on. Ironically, this has bolts and the buckle does not. The slider is replaceable. You can take it off, but it's actually not available as an aftermarket. We cannot buy it from Rollerblade. Having this part here though does mean that the skate is a lot thicker here. Like my friend's Eric's skate here, you see that there's nothing left almost of it because Eric falls a lot on his skate. What else do you do with this boot? Because I see a lot of scratches here. What is that?
Yeah, because it's a little bit wide on the bottom, you can also do soul grinds with it. And as an aggressive skater, you know how to lock it. The difference between the Rollerblade Cruiser and other brands are that it's more flat, and the other ones has a sort of curve in the sole. So it's harder with a different skate to do a soul grind than with this one.
And you did a lot of them, I understand.
Yeah.
I even saw you doing some tricks at the Vondel Cup last weekend.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, that was very nice. And what else did you do with the skate? Because I see that you have a different frame here.
Yeah, I customized it with a 4x100 endless frame.
Yeah.
Because I also like to do flow skating. And besides flow skating, I also do long distance, like a marathon. So it's a good combination for me to with bigger wheels and also flow skate with a rocker.
And how does that compare to the original skate here?
So the biggest difference is you have a longer wheelbase, so you're more stable.
Yeah.
And also with 4 wheels, you're more steady to the ground than with 3 wheels.
Okay, interesting. Is there anything else that you did with the skate?
Yeah, besides the frame, I also changed the wheels for some high quality wheels. And also some wax laces, because the old ones were down. and also a Superfreed insole for extra comfort in the boot.
Those are the best. I also have another setup here which has an endless frame, and it's a little bit comparable. This one even has 5 wheels, and that means that if you ride over something rough, the 5 wheels equalize the roughness out, so that it makes rough roads a lot smoother if you have more wheels. And this is just a really flowy setup, which is also rockered. So if you want to try out this skate, we have it in the shop available as a rental. We have just like normal recreational skates as rentals, but also these flow skates as rentals as well. I think one more thing that you can do to upgrade this skate is to put an intuition liner in. You can see already that your liner is wearing down a little bit. Will you try the intuition liner next?
Yeah, probably I do.
Yeah.
I got this one for 1.5 years now, and now it's getting worn down. So probably I'm going to switch it to an intuition liner in the future again.
Yeah. So these were all the things that you can do to upgrade this skate. And these were all the differences between all the models. If you have any more questions, drop it down in the comments. We make a new video every week, of course. So subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks, Eric.